So hi everyone. Let's start this awesome tutorial where I am going to teach you how to build an API with the help of AWS API gateway and Lambda functions, and it will be done in just 5 to 10 minutes. Right after that, you can do your own personalization. This is just a basic setup of how to do this. So this is an on the screen you can see this is an basic architecture of what we are going to do. Suppose there is a request to our URL. It has to be with the API key that will be provided by us, that is the creators of the API, right? So the key will be generated by AWS, or you can also generate your custom key. Okay, so after that it will go into the request will go into the AWS cloud. It will invoke the AWS API gateway, that is the AWS service we are going to use for this video. And what this service will do in the backend, it will call a Lambda function that is also hosted on AWS. So the operation it will perform on the Lambda function, and then it will give some response. Okay, and that response will be carried forward by our API. So I will just show you, this is a basic architecture. Let's just start and implement this on AWS. Okay, so let me just stop this presentation and let me just go through my AWS account. Okay, so for this purpose I have my own I am user created account, so you can just create your own AWS account and get logged in. Okay, so the main two services which we are going to use is the API gateway and the Lambda function. So these are the two main functions that we are going to use. Okay, so let's just first of all create a Lambda function that will do all the backend tasks what we want that API to do, right? So let me just create a Lambda function. I will just give my function name as Smurf Coders demo Lambda. Okay, we will just follow the camel case convention. Okay, so you can choose whatever language you have preferred, but I will choose Python as my preferred language. Okay, so we just have to create this function. Okay, so it will just take 1 or 2 seconds to create it. In the meantime, let's go to API gateway. So in API gateway, you are allowed to create HTTP API, WebSocket API, REST API, and REST API private. So for now, we are going to create a REST API. We will just create build. This we'll just type demo API. Okay, so we will just select a regional for now. Let's just create this. So our API is created. Now these are the various paths that we want into this API. So we will just get back to this. For now our Lambda function is ready. So let's just test it out. Okay, so let's just test what this function is doing for now. Let's just invoke this. It is just simply returning hello Lambda. Okay, and the status code is 200. That means it's a success. Okay, so let's go to this API. So we have our demo API here. Okay, so let's just go and create a resource. So resource is the value that you have after the slash, means api.smurfcoders.com slash this specific API slash its a specific method. Okay, so I will just write here as demo as my resource. I will just create this resource, and in this demo I have to define what are the methods I want to use in this demo, right? So I will just create a method. I will just select a get method for now. You can also select all these options that are available. For now we will select get method. We will integration type, we will select Lambda, and whenever here you will see all the Lambda functions that are available to that specific region. So my region is currently Mumbai, so make sure your API gateway and Lambda function, they both are in same region. Okay, so please make sure of that. And this there is a default timeout of 29 seconds. So if your API or any task you are going to do at the back end of your API is going to take more than 30 seconds, then this is not the option, because AWS does not allow you to give its timeout more than 20 seconds. If it's more than 20 seconds, you can't do it on AWS API gateway. For that also, I'm going to provide another solution as a workaround, but it will be in the next video, in the coming videos. Okay, so for now, let's just create this method. Okay, so here is our method. So this method is simple, right? So we will just let's test this out, what the result it is giving. So let's just test it, because we have not assigned any query string parameters or headers to our API. So let's just test it out, what results it will give us, right? So here is our API response, that is status code 200, the same response that our Lambda function is giving us. Okay, so until this, I hope everyone is with me. Okay, after this you have to go and this is your main resource. In this you have this resource. In this also, you can create a resource. Is if I create this resource, it will come under demo slash anything you want to create, slash test slash prod or anything, right? So for now I will keep only one resource. I will just create a stage, that is our stage that our API will be deployed. So I will name this as prod. I will just keep this as it is. Okay, it's asking deployment ID. Okay, let's just create this stage here itself. We will assign a name, that is production prod. Okay, so I will just deploy it. So let's see, in our stages the API is there, our demo function is there, our get method is there, right? So here you can see the invoke URL. So this is the URL that will return us the response. So it is an HTTPS URL. If I paste this in my browser, our browser is default method is get method only. So if I paste it, I will receive the same response that my Lambda function is giving. So for now your API is deployed. You can use this publicly, you can use this with this link, right? So if you want to host a public API, there you go, your API is deployed. You can modify your Lambda function and the same response will go here. So let's try it out. Let's modify our Lambda function. Hello from, we will write small coders. Okay, so let's just deploy this Lambda function. It is updating, the Lambda function is deployed. So let's just hit the API again. See, the response has been changed. We don't need to change anything into this API gateway. We just need to change this Lambda function. In future, if you want to connect any database, right? Maybe it is DynamoDB, it is a Postgres or any other source, you can directly connect through this Lambda function. It's just a Python code. How you will perform the same actions using your local. You have to just deploy all the code here on a specific Lambda function. Okay, so let's go. Now this is not a ideal way to like host our API. So let's just go to Postman to check with whether our API is working fine or not, right? So let me just open my Postman. So here is my Postman, guys. Okay, so you can also download this Postman or use the web version. Okay, so it's up to you, whichever you want to use. So for now, let's go to our this API. Let's get this here, because it is not a good practice to do this in your browser. You have to get a tool that specializes in that. Let's just say send here. See, let's see our response. Okay, so here is the same response that we are getting from the browser, right? So let's go again. Let's add authentication to it. So for authentication, you just need to go into this API keys. Okay, so I have already created these two API keys that are available. Okay, let me just create a new API key for you guys. Okay, I will just create this smurf coders API key. This is my API key. It's just an this thing that is the encoded values that is just a key generated by AWS. You can also create your own custom key, but I recommend not to use that, because if AWS provides us, that is the most secure key, right? So I will just copy this API key. Now let's add this API key into our this, right? So let's link this API key. Okay, so let's just add this. So you can see all the performance here. So let's go to our API and add this API authentication to our API that is now hosted publicly, right? So let's just go to this method request here into this get method. Okay, so here you can see API key required, it is false. So we have to edit that. So we don't need this authorization AWS IAM key. API key is required, we just need to set that. Okay, we don't need to set up anything, because we don't have any query string parameters or anything in our API for now. Let's just save this. Okay, it will take some time, and don't forget to, after you add this functionality, that is you have added this API key required is true, but this function is not deployed, means this API is not deployed yet. So don't forget to deploy your API. So let's just deploy it again into production. Let's just deploy it. Okay, so in prod you may see now there are the stages. There is demo, there is get method, and here it's invoke API request. Let's try this in our browser now. Okay, so it is showing missing authentication token, right? So it is expecting an authentication token, as we have added that additional security into our API gateway. So let's just open this postman and let's just try to hit it with authentication. Okay, so if we try this, this will also fail. This is forbidden for now. Okay, its response is 403. That means that is not accessible. Okay, the request, but the server is receiving to refusing to respond it, right? So it an authentication error. So let's just go to authorization, go to headers, sorry. Here there is a thing called XAPI key. So this is a default that AWS considers as and expects a API key in this. Okay, so let's just go into our authorizers, sorry, in this, into our where is that, oh, that API keys, right? Smurf coders API. So we'll just copy this API key, we'll go here, XAPI key is this, right? We'll just hit send. So let's just see why it is also not responding. Okay, once we have an API key, okay, so here you can see here is my API key. So next thing you want to create is a usage plan. Okay, so I will just create a new usage plan, demo plan. We will just create a new here you can define what is the rate in request per second the clients can call your API. I will just write here I will just write what, or just give an example, right? 4100 requests per second I am expecting. Okay, and per day my limit will be like 60,000 requests. Okay, so I will just create number of concurrent requests that a client can make to your API. So we'll just add here 500. Okay, let's just create our new usage plan. So here is our demo plan. You just go into it. You can add stage of an API. Add stage. This is prod. Okay, you just need to add this stage name here and associated API keys. So what API keys you want to authorize, you have to add here. So we'll just add here the API key that we created, smurf coders API key. Okay, we'll just add this is enabled. So let's just try it again. So I think my API key is wrong. Let's just copy this API key, we'll just paste it here. Yeah, so you saw that how we have added the authentication to this. Okay, so if we try to like go take this URL, try to a browser, it will say missing authentication or forbidden, that is not accessible, this link is not accessible. This link is only accessible to the users, though those have this API keys. Okay, so I hope now building an API is pretty much easy, and you can go into your Lambda function, you can connect it to your database and just go. And just boom, your all the API setup is now really simple. And I will also do a quick tutorial on how you can automate this Lambda functions for multiple APIs and through API gateway, right? So we will also go deep dive into Open API, what is the JSON in that, and all those detailed tutorials will be coming up shortly in next few videos. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please don't forget to like this. If you have any doubts, please let me know in the comment section.